What's good, y'all? It's Kai.
And it's Dion.
And welcome back to Let's Really Talk About It, Gen X and Gen Z. Thank you so much for joining us this week once again. And if you're new here, hello. Thank you for joining us. We really do appreciate it. We hope everybody's week was blessed and it was something that happened during the week that made you smile. Let's dive right into it. Today's topic is our health journey from having a congenital heart defect to having breast cancer. I was born with tetralogy of Fallot, meaning I was born with 4 things wrong with my heart. Not really sure what those 4 things are, even at my big age, living with it the entire time. But that's okay.
That's fine. It's hard to remember all of those technicalities. Well, one major thing was like a big hole in your heart.
You know, people be asking me that, and I be saying no.
Yeah, you had a hole because they had to patch over it.
And I knew that part.
Yeah.
I just didn't put 2 and 2 together. Mm-hmm. I just learned something new. So to everybody I lied to, I'm sorry. I didn't know. But yes, I had my first heart surgery at just 3 months old. Crazy stuff. I cannot remember any of it.
So I knew she was with a defect before she was born. Her sister, Deja Lee, my baby girl, she was born with tetralogy of Fallot with pulmonary atresia, which she had like 5 things wrong with her heart, and she was never diagnosed till she was 14 months. And unfortunately, she had surgeries, but they didn't do the full repair because her body made up so many different mechanisms to try and keep up as she grew. And unfortunately, she succumbed. God bless you.
Thank you.
She succumbed to the disease. And it was all new to me. I knew nothing about congenital heart defects. It was my first daughter, my first baby at 28 years old. And it was a whirlwind. And she was born 4 years later. And then she was born with the same exact defect, except that she didn't have the pulmonary atresia part. She had a valve. And I knew prior to about 5 months into my pregnancy that I was high risk and that she had that defect, unfortunately. But when she was born, they took care of her. She had her first heart surgery at 3 months. She had it at Newark, Beth Israel. A lot of people have bad things to say about Newark, Beth Israel, but they saved my baby's life. So I don't have anything bad to say about them at all. So shout out to Newark, Beth Israel.
And shout out to my cardiologist. I love you so much.
Yes, Dr. Verma. We got to give him a big shout out. One day he might see this. And all those nurses and the pediatric unit that took care of her from the time she was born. And so, with that being said, she had her heart repaired, a full repair at 3.5 months. And she went home in about 4 days.
Who's doing that?
Straight from ICU. And she developed well. She went to every doctor's visit. She did have to have a couple of catheterizations through her life. She had to have a stent pulled in when she was about 8 years old. We went to New York for that because they had took away the heart program from Newark, Beth Israel. I was sick to my stomach, but they brought it back because the need is, you believe it or not, 1 in 101 children are born every day with a heart defect.
That's a lot.
And unfortunately, more children die from heart defects than children that die from pediatric cancer. Any death is bad, especially in children, but people don't talk about it enough. And so we wanted to shed a little light on it on today. So with that being said, Kyla grew into the beautiful young lady that she is today. Praise God for that. And it was a journey though. It was a real big journey, very emotional. You can imagine by losing one, and then another one is born with the same defect. Two different children, but similar experiences, right? But with Kai, um, even when you were young, like, did you feel different at all?
You asked me, it was nothing wrong with me. I was in everything. I did everything. I was in gym regularly. Like I played with everybody. I wanted to do karate. I was in karate, but I had to get taken out unfortunately because the possibility of them kicking me in my chest, and that's really the only time I was ever really affected by it. And it wasn't even like, you know, feeling wise. It was just precautionary.
Yeah.
So yeah, I pretty much had a normal childhood. I didn't really feel any different than my peers.
And thank God for that. I however, I was a little stricter. I was a little more cautious in her growing up and certain things. But I put her in everything I could possibly put her in. And she grew up normal and she didn't have medications. To God be the glory for that. She never had any heart medications, but she did have to get another surgery where they had to change her valve out as she grew. Her valve became leaky.
Yeah.
So how old? 15?
I was 14.
14 going on 15?
Yeah, it was January 25th, 2016.
Look at that.
January 2016? Or was it February? I think it was the end of January.
I think it was the end of January, to be honest.
Yeah, I had my second one. That one, since I can remember, I could talk about it a little more. It was cool. I wasn't nervous. I wasn't scared. I just was like, let's get it over with. I only thing I hated was the fact that I was so dehydrated when I woke up. Like I was miserably dehydrated. Like so bad I was dreaming about water.
Yeah,
I was dreaming about water.
She was ready to cry because she was so thirsty.
I was so thirsty. Like I would not wish that on nobody. But I see why they didn't give me liquid still, because I ate some ice chips and I just threw it right on up. Yeah. So everything is for a reason, and I understood that even back then, but it's just so miserable because you're just so dry. Like,
But I think that a lot of Kyla's how she healed well had a lot to do with her mind state and how she felt about all of the things. Like she was born with it, so she was used to it, right? But at the same time, she never used it as a handicap in anything for her. And I think, again, 90% of that is how you feel, how you project, right?
For sure. I wanted to get out of there. I was not playing no games. Like because when I woke up, like after like, you know, the anesthesia wears off and, you know, I finally was hydrated and stuff like that, I felt fine for the most part. Like I didn't even really feel pain until like I had to start, you know, walking and stuff like that.
Because they cracked your ribs.
Yeah, so that's when I really started to feel it. But even then, I was determined. Like we gotta move. Like we're moving. Like let's go. Like I'm ready to walk. Like, and it was like hard because like I was literally leaned over like that. I don't know if you can tell. Down. Like I healed like that. I literally healed like that. Unfortunately, so I'm trying to work on my posture again. Mm-hmm. But I was really determined to just get out and go home and just heal up because believe it or not, what 14-year-old says I'm ready to go back to school? Like I was determined to just be as normal as possible as soon as possible, you know, obviously taking the proper precautions to heal correctly and make sure everything, you know, give my body time to adjust. But at the same time, like I didn't want to prolong anything. Like I didn't want to be in the hospital for too long, you know, because sometimes when you're in the hospital for too long, you don't heal right. That's just my belief, you know.
Yeah.
They do take care of you, don't get me wrong, but it's just the atmosphere, you know, the surroundings.
The longer you're in there.
Yeah, you know. Only thing I would say, like the worst part was when they put tubes inside of me. Not really
To drain.
to drain the look. What is
Your fluids.
my fluids? That really hurt. That was terrible. That was like the worst part of everything. Like even with my cracked ribs and everything, that was the worst part for me personally.
Just by them taking it out.
I cried so bad. Oh my gosh, it was so painful. I have never felt nothing like that ever in my life. But once they did that, I was good to go, really.
Because the tubes are all the way up into the chest cavity, the chest wall, and they put
mind you, they were like right here. So like imagine like that's all. And they had to
pull them out.
Oh my gosh. I was crying. It was so bad.
Yeah, I was crying too.
You can believe it. She cried because I'm crying because it hurt. Like, but after that, it was cool. I didn't even really have to take pain medication like that. Believe it or not. Like,
yeah,
it was crazy.
It's all God's work. But it's very emotional for me. It was a very emotional roller coaster, and to this day, sometimes it could be very emotional for me. Every time she got to get ready to go to the cardiologist, she has to be checked out for the rest of her life. She goes every year and have to have a series of different testing and such. And now that she has the valve only lasts anywhere between 10 to 15 years. And then you have to get a replacement valve.
And this is year 10.
And so she...
Yeah, or 9? 10 or 9?
It's about almost 10.
This is year 9. Yeah, it's going on 10. Because 2016 is 2025. Yeah, so we're kind of getting to that stage. Last appointment, we talked about different options. I may not have to get open heart. They can do it via catheterization, which is awesome because,
as you can see, she has a big keloid scar, unfortunately. Because you got to remember that they had to go in the same area twice in her life already.
Yeah.
And with our type of skin, chances of keloiding is there. And she has it, but I've always told her since she was a baby, like that's her scar of honor, of her scar of life.
Proof of life. Like, and I had to learn that because in high school kids, when they don't understand something or don't know something, they make fun of you for it. And it was kind of tough at first navigating that. I used to be so like sad because it's just like, oh my gosh, like y'all are clowning me for something that I have no control over. And mind you, it wasn't even as big at the time. Like it was very like, it wasn't even that bad, and it was on me. But then I had to realize like without it, like I wouldn't be here, period. So I really don't care what you have to say because y'all couldn't even imagine the going through something like that. Exactly. So I don't expect you to really understand. So I let it brush off. And now I don't even notice it, really. I just wear whatever, and if it's out, it's out. And now that I'm older, like, people ask me, like, what it is. And I'm like, oh, I had heart surgery, beloved. And then, they ask me questions and stuff like that. And I think it's really cool to share my story with people because, it brings awareness to the disease and what it comes with and the toll it takes. And I feel like I'm one of the blessed and lucky ones, honestly, because I used to go to a heart camp. Shout out to Hope with Heart. I love you guys. And I've met so many kids with like different congenital heart diseases and like different things and the things they have to go through and all the medications they have to take. Like I don't have to deal with any of that, and that alone in itself is a blessing. But what it also taught me is we are strong. We are very strong individuals because regardless of all the medication they take and all of the pacemakers and things of that nature that they have to have, they still live and have fun and are bright and are smart and are so funny and so loving and so kind, and they don't let it limit them. obviously they have certain limitations, but they still live life to the best of their ability. That week used to be the most fun week of the summertime when I used to go, and I really did appreciate that experience because it showed me that, like, you aren't what you go through. It's what you make of it and what you choose to do with it. You don't have to be sad about it. You can look at it as a badge of honor, like, yo, I was born with this and I'm still here and I'm still living life and I'm still having fun and making memories. And that's one of the best experiences I ever got out of it, honestly. It helped me make a lot of great connections with a lot of great people, and I'm very appreciative of them and appreciative of the experience, and I can't wait to go back as a counselor. I promised I would, and I definitely am, because they had a real positive impact on me growing up.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah, I miss it. I really do. Even though I'm a big age, I wish I could be a camper because it was just so much fun. Like, so much fun.
So now you can make another child because there's plenty more.
Yes, I
cannot make them
wait.
happy.
I cannot wait. And they're so cute. And I just love it. I just love it. Like,
So,
even as a counselor, I know I'm going to have so much fun because it's just catered to everybody. Like, everybody's fun is prioritized. Obviously, the camper's number one, but I feel like there's something in it for everyone that's a part of it, whether you're a camper or a counselor or the director, whatever the case may be. Like, it's really dope and it's really fun.
And I love that all these people are volunteers. They don't charge 1 single cent, and it's all ran on donations. It's nurses there at the camp. It's a cardiologist at the camp. And a lot of the counselors are heart survivors themselves, were born with congenital heart defects as well. And it's free. It's only for children with heart defects. And I found it through the hospital, and it's called Hope with Heart. And it was a blessing for Kai and to meet all of different people. Just for me as a mother, nervous leaving her. I didn't really let her go many places. Because of her condition, away from me, I'll say that. Certain people I would allow her to, but anything can happen, and I need people to be on ready to go. Anything, God forbid, happened to her. So her experience in that camp away for a week with no phones or nothing.
Oh yeah, it was no phone, and I was having a time of my life. And that's when I was like a preteen, teenager. Like, I went until I was 17. I went every year. I think I started at 13, and I went until I was 17. I wish I would have started going earlier than that. Because, like, it's so much fun. Like, you don't even care about your phone. Like, of course, like, when it's all said and done, you're like, oh, my phone. But, like, that's after the whole week is done, and you just spent the time of your life with all of the friends you made and stuff like that. So that's honestly crazy now thinking about it, because I was not worried about no phone. And teenagers, they love that phone.
Absolutely.
I'm just really grateful for that experience, more than I can even express, honestly. It was a really great time, and I can't wait to continue that with the campers when I go back as a counselor. It's gonna make me feel so happy. I'm gonna probably be more excited than them, for sure.
It's almost that time to do it. So she experienced that. So again, including myself, I always did everything to try to make sure she knew that this is not a limitation on your life. You're stronger than that. You're better than that. You're everything, and you can do anything. And that is what I told her since she was born. She wasn't even out of my womb yet, and I was teaching her that. So
if y'all want to know why I act the way I act, that's why. You can't tell me nothing. Sorry.
So and that's wonderful, right? Like, I love that. I love that for her. So with that, so again, very emotional for me, especially losing my first daughter to a heart defect. It still affects me to this day. And I'll make another podcast about her another time. But she was here, my first baby, and I love her still. And I know she is still around us. And I taught Kyla about her just like she met her. Kyla knew about her as soon as she could comprehend
Yeah.
who her sister was and is. And I know that she's watching over us, and I'm so.
All the time. She'd be like, girl, what are you doing? Like, I'm sorry. I'm bugging. Yes.
So, yeah. So, with that, that was a traumatic experience. My life is full of them. But here I stand. Here I stand. Well, sit. Here I sit. Here I sit. Talking to any and everyone that wants to listen, because I believe that once you can help one, your suffering has never been in vain. And I believe in that. And I teach her that. And so anybody that want to listen, I have someone, a little, I call her a baby. She only about 4. She has the same defect as Kyla, and I want her to meet her. I want her parents to meet Kyla and to see how she can grow. And she's 24, and so
24,
yeah, so she can be a blessing to someone else, especially in the unknown. When you have a small baby that is diagnosed with something such as a heart defect, that's not easy for anything your child goes through, but it's extremely hard. So, with that being said, of course, she still has to go to all, like I said, she has to go to all her doctor's visits.
Yeah.
And she does. And we just take it 1 year at a time.
Yeah. And the blessing is I am actually on track. I'm exactly where I need to be as far as, determining a roundabout of when my next surgery will possibly be. Everything looks as it should, as far as the condition of the valve that they put in, and how it's growing, how it grew with my body and things of that nature. And now we're just looking at the next steps as far as my grown adult body.
And she has a cow's valve in her body.
Fun fact.
She has a cow's
Fun
valve
fact.
in her body, and with her growing and possibly having children, they put animal's valve in you. And then when you get older and you're out of childbearing ages, she would need another valve, and then she could get a permanent valve. And they put those in. Unfortunately, you have to take medication with permanent valves, so they don't.
I didn't know that.
So
that's cool.
don't. So they don't get clogged and with your blood and all of that stuff. And then she won't have to have surgery anymore once she has that permanent valve. But now, because she's gonna have children, God's will, and depending on her stance.
It's like, nah, it's a possibility.
Her stance on that, that's why she has to get, animal valves. But it's been working 9 years, praise God for them. So with that being said, we have come a long way. We've had a lot of to me that's traumatic. That's a trauma. But I think that as a family, we've held on to our faith, and we held on to hope, and we move accordingly. And we have been blessed. Even with the obstacles, we are blessed.
Yes. And when I tell you I live a regular life, sometimes a little too regular, I be forgetting. Like, my mom be having to reel me back in. You can't do everything everybody else do, girl. Hello.
And her body will let her know that, and then she be like, "You're right."
Yeah, I'm bugging out just a little bit. You know what I'm saying? I can't do everything everybody do, and that's cool. Like,
yeah, because her body makeup is completely different, and so she just has to be a little more cautious. And even though she walks around here like nothing, it is something.
Yeah.
And I have to remind her of that. And I'm thankful that she feels as normal as possible.
Right. But
there is a but.
Be a little careful, girl.
Exactly.
Hold on.
So we wanted to share that and hope that it will touch someone that may be or have experienced or know someone that is experiencing a child that may be born with a congenital heart defect. Please feel free to reach out to us.
I would love to discuss that,
Yeah.
touch base, just be a little more connected with that community because I am in that community. And I forget that. And I would just like to be a little more in the know and like more connected with that.
Yeah, and to help someone.
Yes.
And that's what it's really about. And so please, if you know someone that may need just an encouraging word or some guidance.
I'm good at
way,
that.
yes, or guidance of which way to go as a parent. I've experienced it twice, unfortunately. And I am always willing to share any knowledge, any information with anyone. So please feel free to leave us a comment as we read every one of those comments. I don't care if it's 2, 4, or 5. We gonna read them. So
We see you. And we appreciate it. Yes. We really do. I appreciate all the comments. A little sidebar. Thank you so much to like those that do comment. It really does mean a lot to me personally, because I do appreciate the feedback. I love when you share your 2 cents on things that were discussed and, your thoughts and opinions on it. It really does mean a lot to me.
It does. And in the near future, we'll be going live. We won't be pre-record. I mean, it's going to be recorded, but we will be going live. And then you guys can really interact with us and ask us questions while we're live. But we're just starting out, so that's why we're pre-recorded. But please, we will get back to any question that you may have. We definitely will. But right now, Kai, how do you feel? Like, you feel good? Like, with everything that you've been through when it comes to your health and your heart. You have asthma as well.
Oh, I forgot about that too.
See, you have asthma as well. You have eczema. You have a couple of things.
And it's so crazy, guys. All of those are linked
together.
Believe it or not. That's why I have all of those things, because they can be linked.
Yep.
Which is so crazy. But I will say my asthma is very, very, very well controlled. I barely have to use any asthma medication. I forget about that too. Not so much the eczema. That's in my face every day. But even with that, it's gotten so much better. Like, as I got older, like, I do not really have... sorry for this, but I don't really have flare-ups
That one
anymore.
was bad.
This one was crazy, I'm not gonna lie. But prior to that, like, it was good for years. Like, I got it, like, well under control. Like, because I used to get it here, behind my legs. It was bad. But praise God, like, I grew out. I don't want to say I grew out of it, because case in point, but it's not as bad as it used to be. And it could be worse. Thank God it's not.
Yes, it definitely could be worse.
As far as my asthma, same thing with that. I barely have to use my albuterol. I forget to take my Flovent. So sorry. But I don't need it. Clearly.
Right.
So that's a blessing. And when I say I feel like a normal person, 9 times out of 10, I do. Like, I forget all about my little ailments. I'd be like, oh, yeah. Right.
Well, thank God. But so I just wanted to make sure that I wanted to make sure you reiterated how do you feel, in explaining that if someone asks you, like when they come up to you and say, what's this? Do you have a problem? And
oh, not at all. Actually, I get a lot of those questions on Instagram when I post certain pictures that have the scar in it. They ask, like, oh, what's down your chest? Some people think it's a tattoo. I still don't understand how they see that. I get a little confused. And I'm like, tattoo? What would it be? Like, what kind of tattoo does this look like to y'all? I don't see it. But that's cool, it's cool. I'd be glad to explain to them, like, oh, no, it's a scar from...
So my question is, as you gotten older, I remember you were saying kids was really mean, but you even told me a couple times that some people love it. Like
Oh yeah, like
right,
it's so crazy.
It's
Like they love it. They be like, "Oh my gosh, I love your scar. Like I love your scar so much." Like I'm like, you love it,
right.
but then again, I love
Yeah.
it too. So I understand. And if I saw it on somebody else, I would probably think it was cool too.
Because it just made you who you are.
Yeah, man, I feel like I'm the toughest G out here. Yo, I got my ribs cracked open twice.
Yeah.
And I'm still here to talk about it.
And we're so grateful.
And I thank God for that every day. So I have no shame in it anymore. I don't feel no types of ways. Like, even if somebody was to come sideways at me about it, I would just be like, bro, this scar saved my life. I don't really care. Like, I don't care because you'll never understand that. You'll never understand
and
that.
we're thankful that you don't.
Yeah, but I just feel like I'm harder than you. Sorry, like I'm a G. You're not, and I understand. Like it's fine. But on a real note, like people are just unfortunately not informed and a bit ignorant to certain things, and they come off rude with their ignorance. Instead of just trying to be informed and ask questions, but that's their problem. I don't take any offense to it. I'm proud of my scar. I honestly look right past it when I'm looking in the mirror or I take pictures. I don't even notice it anymore. It doesn't bother me. It is a part of who I am. It doesn't stick out. Like, it's a part of me. So I really don't have any issues. When people ask me about it, I'm happy to let people know that I am a survivor and
praise God. Yeah.
I'm only getting better.
and that's it. So, and just keep the momentum going. Unfortunately, for me, 7 years ago, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and come on, mama. So 7 years ago, I did a podcast. I was a guest on Hank Gable's podcast, and I discussed everything on breast cancer and my experience. But I'll just say a few words about it. I was diagnosed at 49 with breast cancer. I never smoked, never did any type of drugs or anything like that. And so I was shocked more than anything. I think I was shocked. I was in denial for a minute. And Kai, you were what grade at that time? Like,
I was a junior.
Yeah, she was a junior. It was tough. I was just going through a separation at the time. Our everyday life had changed. Our family had split up, and then here was this, and it was just me and Kai at the time. So needless to say, when they found it, it was early. They initially said it was stage 0. You have stage 0 breast cancer. You probably only need a lumpectomy, which meaning they need to go in and take a piece of the disease that's inside the tumors out, and then you'll take an oral medication for about 10 years and checkups and mammograms every 6 months, and you'll be fine. That's what they told me, right? And then I went into prayer. I was hysterical at one point. I was upset, I was sad, I was angry, I was everything you can possibly think of. And more importantly, I was thinking of my kid, my daughter, as she's being only in 11th grade, and here I am going through this, right? So with all that being said, I went into prayer, and they did another test. They did an MRI of the breast, and they said to me, well, we see a little spot behind the little cluster that you have. It was a very small cluster, but it was behind it. Well, you could still do the lumpectomy, because it's still probably in stage 0, 1 tops. And something came over me. I'm told, I said, absolutely not. You need to take that. I want it out. I want everything gone. All the breast tissue out of there. And then they had to go on in and check my lymph nodes because everything is connected. And they took out 14 lymph nodes out of this arm. And sometimes this arm gets big and painful because it doesn't drain properly because they took out 14 lymph nodes, and sometimes it gets big. But with that being said, then they found a little spot on a lymph node. Now you know, and I know, if anybody that knows, once it goes into your lymphatic system, it can move through your whole body aggressively. Thank God I only had a 1 millimeter spot on one lymph node. To God be the glory. And I took out all the breast tissue, and when they took it out, they found 3 more little tumors. So I don't think that I'll probably be on this podcast at this point, had I not listened to me, to what God was telling me to do, because they would have just been giving me a medication, and then by then it would have probably spread. So I say all of this to say, follow your gut. Secondly, don't miss your mammograms when they're due. Very important. Kyla will be going early because of her mom. It's very important. I stress that ever since I was diagnosed, I speak about breast cancer every chance I get because they think it's a cliche, but early detection definitely saves lives. And I know that to be true. That's why I'm sitting before all of you. And that was another traumatic experience for the both of us and my family and friends. And I went through chemo. I did not have to go through radiation.
Praise God.
Praise God. I was one thing I didn't have to go through. So I did lose hair. I was sick. But God made a way. And I was still able to, once I healed from the surgery, go back to work. And I worked through chemo.
Oh, can you say Superwoman? Superwoman.
I worked through chemo. Like, I needed us to be okay. And so God gave us the strength to do it. And then I had to have 2 more surgeries, reconstruction and all those other things.
And would you believe that everything just turned out like perfect? Yo!
What do you mean?
God is so good. Like, there was not really any complications.
Thank you, Lord.
Like,
yeah.
Nothing. Like,
yeah.
Yo.
So we are extremely grateful, and we are sharing our stories, our experiences with you, just to let you know, if you've experienced it or know someone who has, that you are not alone, and that we are here, and that we are open to help you and navigate in any way, shape, or form.
Yes.
Because it's not easy. But what I will say, and I want you to leave this podcast knowing what worked for us was that 90% is how you feel. 90% is what you tell yourself.
Yes.
90% is your faith.
Yes.
10% is medical.
Yes.
And that is what really helped us and kept us and keep us going.
To this day.
To this day.
Because I'm not going to lie, y'all. You would think, like, what happened, like, what I grew up with would be, like, the most traumatic thing. Like, oh, because I have to live with it every day.
Yes.
No. The most traumatic thing was seeing my mom go through all of that. Like, to this day, like, I cry right now, y'all. We're not going to do that. But, like,
don't cry.
The most important thing I would say is talk about it. 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 Talk about how it make you feel. Talk about, just everything,
right,
like your
what you're
thoughts.
experiencing.
Please, like, do not hold it in, please, because like
That's what you did.
I did that, and because you know you don't want to overwhelm the person that's going through it, because I'm not going through that. So, not so much forget how I feel at that moment, but I didn't want to put emphasis on me. I didn't want to come off as selfish, like this is not I mean, it is, but you get what I'm trying to say. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not the one going through it every day.
Right.
Regardless of how I feel, because that's my mother, and like, seeing her like that, because like she said, it was only me and her. It was tough, but like I felt like I had to be very, very strong because she needed as much positivity and love as possible. And I will say it paid off. It worked. But I feel like if you're going through something like that, whether it's you or a loved one, you have to find an outlet. Always have an outlet.
Right, and you have to let out how you feel.
Yeah.
And what you're feeling.
Please, because
it's the worst because it comes out in other ways.
It does.
And
it does,
then
guys.
It affects you down the road. Like, I think it started affecting you almost a year out.
Yeah, it didn't hit me until she was done. Like, with everything. Like, when she finished her chemo, that's when everything...
And I think in the surgeries, you really felt it after that.
Yeah. When did you finish chemo? What year?
The same year, 18. Because I finished towards the summer.
Yeah.
July.
I remember that. I had just turned 17, and it still didn't hit me then, really. I was just more so relieved that everything was over and she was fine, and she started feeling better, and she started feeling more like back to normal, or what her new normal is. I wouldn't say normal, but her new normal. She started to, feel better in general. So I was more so just grateful for that. And things didn't really hit me until the summer before I went to college, like a year later. And I was so depressed, and I didn't know why. And it was because I did not process all of the emotions that came with that.
Yeah.
So just always make sure you have an outlet. Not saying you have to, overwhelm anyone, including yourself, but just something that helps you express how you're feeling.
Talk to someone.
This is very important, because your mental and your emotional, your body keeps the score of that.
That's right.
Just because you shove it down, deep down, it's going to come back up way, somehow, at some point. And it could be a week from then, a year from then, 2 years from then. Just make sure you're always, letting it out.
Yes.
Don't hold on to it, because, everything, by the time I started feeling everything was fine for the most part. Like, everything was back to the new normal. Like, it was.
But she wasn't.
I was distraught. And I could not pinpoint what it was for a very, 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 very long time. Yeah. It took me like 2 years to figure it out, for real.
Yeah, because she held it all in, and which is never a good idea. But thank God.
Yeah, but God. I always say that, but God, God
got us through.
For sure. For sure. Like, He never, ever leaves us. Or you, for that matter.
Yeah.
Never. And I'm just so grateful that we're here today and we're able to talk to you about these things, because I feel like it's a part of what we're supposed to be doing with life. Right. And I feel like this is a part of the purpose that we have in this life. I feel like all the things we went through, even though they were very, very, very traumatic and very, very, very hard,
and they're not wish them on anyone.
Not even my biggest op. Like, I promise you, like, it's never that serious. Like, that's how deep it was. It wasn't in vain. All of that stuff was not in vain, because
here
we are talking about it, and just spreading awareness, and giving advice, and letting people know what worked for us, what didn't work for us, and what we would have done differently back then.
Right. So that's it. We'll get into details down the road
Oh,
when it
yeah, for
comes
sure.
to Breast Cancer Awareness Month, when it comes to Heart Month. We will do a segment on those things. But we just wanted to touch a little bit on what we've experienced, which we've experienced a lot more, but in our life, far as our health is concerned, and hoping that we can help one. But that's all I got. That's all you
I'm
got.
pretty good on that as well. I just hope that, something we said really resonated with you, or if you have any questions, especially, feel free to leave them in the comments.
Yeah.
We would love to discuss further with you guys. Thank you again so much for tuning in. This
Thank you.
episode means a lot to us.
Yeah.
It's very personal, obviously, and the bigger picture, what we're hoping for is just to reach at least one person,
Yes.
and
Absolutely.
have a positive effect on them, especially if they have experienced anything remotely similar. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your week.
Yes.
I hope
Thank
you
you so
find something that
much.
makes you happy and brings you joy.
Always.
And what you always say, Mom?
And always remember to love always. Peace and blessings, family.
Thank you guys. Love you guys.
Until the next time, be good.